Alright, so I haven't seen any build diaries for the new, or build, videos of any sort for the new Cold Snap. So, Cold Snap of Power. So I figured I'd make a little build diary on my experience with it so far, and rather than bait you and make you wait till the end of the video, we'll just get into a map showcase right away. This is a T14. Once it loads, those are the mods. So no reduced damage mods. So this is kind of the full DPS that you could reasonably expect from the build at this point in time. Okay, so this is how it plays. And we're getting intervened upon immediately, and they're dead. Yep. So that's that. So you can see, especially when we hit a unique enemy like a Syndicate person, they get melted pretty easily, and that's just kind of like the training wheels that you get as an Elementalist with that cycling more elemental damage buff. I forget what it's called, but it's one of the Ascendancy points. So, yeah, that's pretty nice. I'll try to just rush for the map boss, because this map is super annoying in its layout. So that was a Rogue Exile. You can see he really does not stand much of a snowball's chance in hell against us. Again, any unique mob we're going to churn through. They really are at quite a disadvantage compared to a bulky rare. Like that guy. He kind of just got freeze locked. I'm not going to bore you guys with Harvest. I will say, some Harvest mobs are definitely tanky, and you feel that bulk. So, this build, it's not like, infinite free damage or anything right now, but it is pretty good. I do like the movement. It's pretty snappy. It's, to the point where it's almost a little hard to talk and play at the same time. But maybe I'm just an idiot, and that's a me problem. Okay, so there's an Essence. Really not an issue. There's one of those stupid temporal bullshit-ass fields, and sometimes that's an issue, but it wasn't this time, thankfully. The game not embarrassing me during my showcase. Okay, so... Yep. I feel like sometimes there's like, I don't know if it's bugged or what, but like, I feel like Spell Cascade will like triple the cast time of Cold Snap, and you can like audibly hear like how much slower each Cold Snap is, like each cascade of it or whatever. So I don't know what that's about. Maybe I'm just a crazy person. But you can see here we're freezing the boss, we're double hitting him because we had the right positioning of the mouse. We're double hitting this Essence. So yeah, the thing, we run Spell Cascade. I haven't said anything about the build yet. I've just showcased you some mystery. We'll just stay in here actually and talk about it now. But we're running Spell Cascade because really it's very hard to scale just auto casting or self-casting hit-based spells. So yeah, we'll go over the links right now. So we got Cold Snap of Power. If you don't know anything about Cold Snap of Power, it's Cold Snap, but no dot damage. Way better base crit, you can see, 10%. And has a much faster base cast time of 0.6. I think regular Cold Snap is 0.8, if not... I think it's 0.8. It might be 0.9 though. So basically, you still have to deal with the cooldown of it. You can see I'm cooling down and waiting forever. Then I can cast it again. But Cold Snap of Power, you can expend a power charge to bypass that. So the name of the game is sustaining power charges. How do we do that? Well, we just need 100% crit chance combined with a dash of quality on the base gem, and then power charge on crit will give us the rest of that. So 63 plus 39 is 102, I believe. So we are, overcapped, right? We have over 100% chance to gain a power charge on critical hit, which means we're always sustaining power charges so long as we are always critting. Now let's take a look. Are we always critting? Well, we're at 70% chance with no modifiers. Once we start stacking Inspiration, that goes up a little bit. Our charges are giving us 58% crit chance per power charge, so that comes out to another, I think it's something like 23% chance. So without any other buffs going on, with max power charges, we're at, I think, 97% crit strike chance. That's going to be 92, I think, because I don't think you benefit from the power charge that gets consumed to bypass cooldowns. So not quite crit capped, but the Diamond Flask giving us 100% gives us that 10% extra we need to be always critting. So perfect. We're power charge neutral, which means this build is viable against single targets. Otherwise, you'd have to sustain by multi-hitting several enemies, or if you can multi-hit the same enemy, but that requires a little bit more placement. But otherwise, yeah, mana is an issue with this build, so we do Inspiration. If you fix it later, Empower is much better. I think it's about 14% more damage than Inspiration is. But mana is an issue for me now, so I'm doing this, and Empower is expensive. Awakened Cold Pen. This is neck and neck with Awakened Added Cold, but only when Added Cold is level 5, because that +1 gem level really makes it much more competitive. Otherwise, Cold Pen outclasses it easily, and even level 5 Cold Pen is better than Woke Cold 5. So use Cold Pen. It's also very cheap, so easy peasy, kind of a brain dead decision. Spell Cascade again. Woke Spell Cascade, actually kind of cheap this league, so I'm looking forward to getting that. I think it's like 3 div right now. Fingers crossed I don't jinx it. But yeah, Spell Cascade's good. It's really good for linear maps like Toxic Sewers, where the enemies are just down hallways, because you're going to be basically clearing out that entire hallway with one cast, because it just shoots it out in a straight line like that. Just imagine, destroying everything in front of you. It's good stuff. And then increased critical damage. Obviously, if you're crit capped, then you want to be stacking as much multi as you can. That's a no-brainer. They buffed Darkness and Throne this league, so it has more than 75% chance, possibly. It can go up to 100, so Abyss stacking, very good for this build. Obviously, you want multi on both jewels, and then I chose to go for life and res. Right now, I'm quite a bit over res, but I plan to drop a few gear items in the future and reduce that. Rings, we're just going with the cheapest, DPS, stupid idiot rings we can. So Tesalio's Sign just gives us, flat cold damage and a bit of res, and we don't really care about anything else. And then Mark of Submission. Technically, in the end game, we want to replace this with like crit multi and frostbite on hit ring, but that's going to be very hard to craft. So I'm going to be rocking this for a while. If you want more utility, then you can just go for a curse on hit ring or a crit multi ring, and then you can get chaos res or whatever else you want from the ring. Who knows what you need. Amulet. Obviously, for any caster, you just want gem levels on the amulet, and then whatever other utility you need. I'm a little dex shy, so when I bought this, I got it with a lot of dex. For the Anoint, I just went with that flat 30 crit multi that you see there, but obviously more power charges is more better for this build. My issue is I am not sure how well. I'm usually sustaining power charges pretty well in mapping, so it'd probably be better, but silver oils are expensive. And 30 multi is just on all the time, so I don't need to worry about it, unlike max power charges, which is something I need to maintain. So yeah, there's that. The shield, I think I got a really good deal on this shield because that 90 cold damage is hard carrying. That's worth like as much as a gem level. So I love that. And the mana regen also saving me a lot. This shield, very good. I don't know if you could get a similar one on the market right now, but you're looking for crit strike chance. You're looking for cold damage, or you're looking for cold gem spell level. Those are all good things. Shields can also roll life regen and spell block, which are very good mods that you won't see on your damage numbers, but they'll feel very comfy during mapping. The helmet, it's just kind of armor and filling in our res gaps. I got very lucky on rolling the mana reservation stuff, so I could level up my clarity a bit more. Again, I told you I was having mana issues. That's still an ongoing problem. This helmet let me alleviate it a bit, but I'm kind of still stuck using inspiration and or this helmet, which is not what we want. What we want in the end game is to get an influence helmet with +1 power charge on the helmet and a synthesized shield with +1 power charge on the shield. And we still want this garbage blue base shield, because then you can roll +1 gem levels as well as +1 power charges, and then the shield's going to give you a ton of damage. Obviously, we're power charge stacking, so Void Battery would be better here, but again, we are spending power charges, so that's inconsistent damage at the moment. If you want consistency, Pharaoh's Fur is going to be the name of the game. You just get Aspect of the Cat on your helmet with less duration, and it's going to be topping up your frenzy charges and your power charges very often, and you can rely upon stacking it much more. But for mapping, you're probably at max most of the time. I'm not staring at it too hard to know, but you have pretty good uptime, I would say, during mapping. Yeah, as far as defenses, we really cannot afford to invest in defenses this early on in the league, especially with this, hipster off-meta build. So our Chaos res is abysmal, as you saw before. Our armor isn't that great. It's okay when we have all our buffs up, 17k. But we don't have 100% flask uptime, obviously. We don't have 100% molten shell, obviously. So could be better. That's why I went with golems, because Chaos Golem, I believe, is giving us like 15% fizz damage reduction because of the golem effect we're scaling. And then you can see the Stone Golem is giving us over 10% life regen, which is very comfy. I highly recommend it. I'm using the Ice Golem right now just to make sure that my crit is very strong when I'm not at full power charges. And I think it's still necessary even at this point, unless I were to assume Diamond Flask is up all the time. So that's that. That pivots us nicely into the tree. Oh yeah, I didn't finish. So early on, when your crit is bad, Inya's Epiphany is absolutely vital. That 25% to gain up to your max power charges is going to save you a lot, because if you do not crit on your first hit, you are waiting on the cooldown of that cold snap, and it's just going to feel awful. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. And then when you're against a single target and you're not crit capped, your power charges are going to start ticking down, probabilistically based on whatever crits you roll or don't roll. So Inya's basically tilts the odds in your favor, where it's like 1 out of 4 times you're just going to shoot up to max and be able to tick down again. So this is mandatory. If you were running a Pharaoh's Fur and you had other means of getting power charges, basically, then you'd want to run Replica Inyas, because that would give you more movement speed, I believe. And you would drop this 25% chance thing because you don't need it at that point. So Inyas, super cheap, super best in slot, honestly, for just making this build come online at all against single target. The weapon is just whatever, it's damage. If you can find something for more damage, do that. It's super easy to scale it because you can just buy more and more expensive versions of the whatever weapon you need as you progress. Gloves are garbage. I just have some garbage base that rolled really well while I was doing the campaign, so it gives me lots of res, gives me the dex I need. And then I just Eldritched it. Cold exposure is really important on an Elementalist. Because of this node, I think we're getting something like 15-20% more damage from this extra 25 minus res, and then the mana is also helping us a lot. So yeah, just inflicting cooldown exposure on hit is really important. Right now, that is the most damage that you should be looking for from your gloves until you have more money. So yeah, that's that. Onto the tree. Pretty simple caster tree, honestly. Just kind of grabbing crit, grabbing cold damage, grabbing life where we can. This mana stuff, once you get your 6 link, I would say you kind of have to come down here and get this reduced mana cost wheel. Otherwise, doing this mana up here for leveling is fine. Power charge. Jewels, strength and dex are hard to come by on this tree and with all the uniques we're using. So I try to get dex on all my jewels, and multi is kind of the name of the game. Cast speed is okay too, but you're going to run into mana problems with all the frenzy charges and various cast speed stuff we have going on. Just grab this cold wheel for ailment stuff, cold damage. Golem wheel so we can have 3 golems, and this gives us 80% more effect, which gives us 100% more total effect if we have 20 quality golems, and then that's 200% with the this Liege of the Primordial node. Shock is a great way to scale, big hit spell damage, which autocast you should be hitting pretty hard. So if you're max shocking, which you are for probably any map boss, any mob, anything that you come across, that's 50% more damage. That's great stuff. And then, Heart of Destruction is just like easy I win button against any unique enemy. It's great. And then, outside of that, we're getting 60% AoE, which makes our Herald of Ice proliferate better. It makes our Cold Snap hit more things. It's just, you can't lose. Right now, because I can't invest in defenses, I kind of just have some random whatever nodes. So this area stuff, not terribly necessary. Honestly, these 3 points aren't terribly necessary either. If we have crit from elsewhere, we don't really need to grab this wheel at all. We can just path around it instead. And then the endgame version of this, I plan to do whatever the chaos thing is. So, yeah, let's find what it's actually called so I don't sound like an idiot. Divine Flesh, yeah. So this is my endgame tree. And so we just have Born of Chaos, and then we kind of have to do this cringe thing to get 90 Chaos max res, Born of Chaos. Otherwise, if you're like level 90 instead of level 97, just drop this. 87 max chaos res is still going to be feeling a lot better than what you have currently. So yeah, figure it out. It is what it is. So you can see we dropped the points here. We dropped the AoE here. We picked up this. Fizz taking his chaos because chaos is, our best damage reduction. So we definitely want to be shifting Fizz away from that. The only weakness at this point is going to be physical damage because our chaos is great. Our elemental resist is very good. And not only is it good, it's effectively like 82 max res, but it's also robust against penetration because when they penetrate your cold res, they're not penetrating your chaos res. So you're only taking, half the downside of any penetration that you might come across, which is something like the Shaper Balls, something like the X-Arc, Fire Degen bullshit, There's a few sources of penetration that you really don't want to get hit by. So there's that. Ailment effect, this may or may not be necessary depending on how much damage you actually have. But you definitely want to be getting those max shocks. So if you need to put 1 point down to go from 45 to 50% shock effect, then that's definitely worth it for the damage you're going to be getting in return. Otherwise, yeah, these jewels are just filling whatever you need. Chaos res is kind of hard to come by because we are not occultist. So I'll say this build originally came from an occultist, power and frenzy charge stacker. So the nice thing about it was a Hexblast Occultist, so you didn't need the shock thing from Elementalist because Hexblast already shocks. So because I wanted to try this out as Cold Snap, obviously there's no way to shock with Cold Snap unless you do something like this. So I figured do Elementalist. We're going to have good bossing damage because of Heart of Destruction. We're going to have good utility from the golems. Hopefully it works out. So that's what's going on there. As far as our links, utility links, so Clarity, Herald of Ice, Determination, Zealotry. Once you have enough damage, I highly recommend swapping Zealotry for Grace if you're running Feral's Fur, because that's a decent enough base evasion that you're going to have, I think, like 30% evade chance, which is going to help you out a lot in mapping. Especially if you have like super juice maps with bunches of like Exarch mobs. Those are all attack based, I think. So you definitely want to be dodging what they're giving out. Then our movement is Frostblink. The nice thing about that is we're scaling so much cold damage that Frostblink hits really hard. You probably saw during the mapping that I was, one-shotting some packs by just Frostblinking into them, and then Herald of Ice does the rest. So if Frostblink doesn't kill them, then we're doing a Bone Chill with AoE and Unbound Ailments. So we're going to be chilling most everything in the area. You could swap out increased AoE for LE Prolif if you want. That might be better. I have no clue. I haven't tested it. But, kind of your own flavor. But yeah, the goal of this is to Frostblink into a pack. You shock them probably, because if Frostblink hits really hard, you chill them for max chill effect. And that's a Bone Chill max chill, so they're going to be taking like 100% or 80% increased damage taken from 30 chill and 50 shock. And so you're going to be doing massive amounts of damage. And on top of that, with the gloves, you're going to be exposing them, so if they're going to have like minus 36 elemental resistances. So yeah, the damage ramps comes online really easily, really quickly. So there's not like some weird esoteric, you don't have to like summon your totems like a melee build. There's not some stupid Warcry shouting build up you have to do to get your damage online. It's kind of just, if you have Feral's Fur, your charges are already up. So you just Cold Snap into them, or you Frostblink into them, and then you're good to go. Your damage is all there, all available to you. So that's that. Yeah, there's not really much else to talk about. Yeah, just get a large cluster jewel. Some life gain on kill is nice. Cold Pen is the best cold notable you can get. And ideally you would get like attributes or chaos res from this, but I needed regular res and I was poor, so that's where we are on that. So that's the build so far. You get some utility from ailments for this and the Pantheon. So shock effect, chill effect, freeze. Your life is just going to be 1,000% better if you don't have to worry about those things. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, you saw the builds. It was only a T14, so obviously the damage isn't fully online yet. It's not the best thing in the world, but you can see the defenses were reasonable in that the best defense is a good offense, and then we have enough life regen to kind of not die instantly to whatever degen puddles we step into or whatever. As far as the endgame version of this, I kind of just took my Hexblast build that is real. All of this gear is real shit that exists, but then I changed any reference to chaos to be cold. So this shield, it is real. I do have it, in standard league, but instead of cold spell gems, it's chaos spell gems. Crafting the shield is a little harder because it's cold. Normally, what I did for chaos was I get whatever suffixes I want, and then I do suffix can't be changed, and then reforge chaos. There's only one chaos prefix on energy shields, and that's +1 chaos gems. So it's super easy to craft, and then you kind of just pray that you get either a good life roll or you get an open stuff prefix to craft life onto it, and you're good to go. The perfect version would be if you somehow magically rolled spell damage on top of chaos gem level, but I don't know, that would cost a lot more money to make. So that's that. +1 power charges comes from Warlord, I guess. So your endgame helmet is going to be very pressed for affixes. You want the nearby enemies have -9 cold res as a suffix, and then power charge as a prefix. So you're going to have to awaken orb those things together. And then you kind of just have to pray that you have an open suffix and an open prefix. If you have an open suffix, you can do Aspect of the Cat, which is essential for the Ferals for version of this. And then if you have an open prefix, you can do life so that your helmet isn't just, a dead item. And then you pray that the remaining prefix and suffix is going to give you res, and the prefix is going to give you armor. I got armor, but not that much of it, and I got igniting conflux instead of res. So obviously there's a lot of RNG. I think I tried to make like 4 of these helmets in the league when I did this Hexblast thing, and this was the best result. So that's a very expensive chase item. You're rolling the power charges, you're rolling the minus res, and then you're smashing them together with woke orbs, and you're praying. When I did it, there was still enchants, so I was having to buy, Eternal Burgeonet, Hexblast enchanted helmets, so it was just a very expensive, annoying process. It should be a little bit easier now because enchants are gone. Gloves, because we are Badge of the Brotherhooding, getting a lot of frenzy charges. 5% increased damage per frenzy charge is going to be like, 50 or 45% increased damage. It's going to be very nice. And then the exposure. The temple mod is kind of the easiest source of extra damage you can get out of this. So if you can get a nice temple, armor-based gloves with increased chill damage or increased crit against shock, increased damage against chilled is better because you hopefully are crit capped elsewhere. But yeah, that's that. Replica Inyas gives us life regen on top of more movement speed per power charge, so that's really nice. You're really zooming around when your Feral's Fur is keeping you at max power charges and frenzy charges, so you're getting giga movement speed out the ass. Good stuff. Double Amethyst Ring to make sure our Chaos Res is good. We need a lot of attributes, and then minus mana cost is going to be what you need basically if you're going to remove the stopgap solutions I had, which is inspiration and then high level clarity. So those are the rings, and then kind of the only damage you can squeeze in is either frostbite on hit or global crit multi. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, the jewels are just whatever damage you can get on the jewels. If you need res, put res on them. These jewels are the same, just kind of get crit multi and then figure out everything else from there. So yeah, that's the end game version of it. You can also do Lore Weave, and I think it's called Transcendence. That's another version. I say that because this league, you have the whatever these trees are called, I forget, the league mechanic tree. And so what you can do is you can get frenzy charge on hit. So you can just be a raider if you have enough money. Before, there was no real easy way to get frenzy charge on hit, unless you did some timeless jewel and just prayed that one of these notables was frenzy charge on hit. But now you can just slap it in this free extra slot and not have to think about it. So frenzy charge on hit, this makes it so we can get frenzy charges without having to run something like what is it? Ice Bite as one of our supports, because Ice Bite really isn't that helpful to us, and it has a pretty high dex requirement. So no Ice Bite needed. We can sustain frenzy charges against bosses because we're not relying upon on-kill effects, and then do whatever you want. I did Onslaught on kill, which is super nice. Again, movement speed, cast speed, just incredible things. And in this case, I got more flash charges. The best thing you could do here might be like if you can co-opt the Occultist Explosion, but that's probably like 1,000,000 divines, so I wouldn't even worry about it. If you want more quality of life, you can just double stack the Frenzy Charge on hit. If you need more res, you can get something with all res. 20 all res is probably going to help your gear requirements out a lot. It'll ease up a lot of pressure on you. There's also one that is intelligence and strength, so that extra strength will also help you. Not as much as all res, I imagine, but you know, if you need strength, then you know, slap strength thing in here. So yeah, I would say something like this is really what enables this to be non-Feral's Fur dependent, but I still think the smoothest, most comfortable version of this build is Feral's Fur, especially for bossing. You want to have 100% uptime on your charges without having to worry about, you know, casting like 40 times probabilistically to get your max charges against a single target. I don't know what the math works out to, but yeah, Feral's Fur is the most comfortable, but for mapping, you can probably just do, you know, whatever other chests you want. So that's really more of like an end game consideration or like a late game bossing, pinnacle bossing kind of thing. Right now, my chest is just whatever. I just kind of rolled some Eldritch Implicits on it, you know, life, res, armor, whatever. It would be better on a pure armor base, but I really don't want to have to deal with these, you know, off-color rolls. So I just stuck with the Saline Chainmail hybrid base. So yeah, that's the build. You can also do Melding of the Flesh for a defensive capability. So there's kind of 3 defensive options that you want once you have, you know, the late game budget to, you know, afford the kind of gear to support that. So it's really quite flexible. It's really more of like a template or a prototype that you can flesh out and develop however you see fit. And it has a reasonably high ceiling on loot and gear, so you can really scale it up as you go. It's been reasonably comfortable for me to map with so far. Yeah, I've completed most of my Atlas. I'm doing T14 through 16s right now. Just trying to make sure my damage is progressing all right. 70k average hit feels pretty good for T14s. I can probably do T16s with this, but I'd probably want like 10 or 20% more damage to really make it feel super comfortable, if not, you know, more than that. So yeah, it's still a work in progress, but it's off meta, so I'm reasonably happy with how it's going. I think if you can get Woke Spell Cascade, I think it can triple hit. I'm not sure on that. In my POV, kind of the only way this makes sense is if you're triple hitting, because then you can start getting to real DPS, you know, big boy numbers. So you can get around that 10 million mark if you are triple hitting with Awakened Spell Cascade. I don't know what kind of like mouse positioning you're going to have to do to make that happen, but I'll play around with it once I get it, and if it doesn't triple hit, then you're probably going to be at, what, 6 million, almost 7 million DPS? 6.5. So it'll still be, you know, decent. It'll be fine for mapping, but it won't really be the pinnacle boss farmer that you would want it to be. And, you know, it's self-cast, so it's not really great at pinnacle boss farming in the first place because it's, you know, hit-based self-cast. It's just the mechanics aren't there for pinnacle bosses. So, yeah, that's that. The original Hexblast version it was based on is here. So I did get it up to level 97, you know, true, real shit, no cap. Yeah, it's kind of, the tree's kind of changed now. So this is very expensive, this impossible escape here that gives you Whispers of Doom, but it's not really necessary anymore. What I ended up doing was getting a Forbidden Flesh Flame combo for Withering Presence so that I could get Profane Bloom and Unholy Authority. So with that, you can do Frostbite, Assmark, and Punishment if you want. Those are kind of the only 3 damage curses that are helpful to you. Punishment is only good for, you know, half of the enemy's health because it only works on low life. But yeah, that's that. Divine Flesh you squeeze in over here because there's no nodes you care about. I didn't want to brick these life nodes or these, you know, ailment nodes, so you just kind of have to path over here. This build is at only 88 max res, not 87 because we can get this Chaos Mastery here without wasting points. So that's that. Technically, shields can also roll +3 max Chaos res, so if you can fit that onto your shield, if you can figure out how to roll that, then more power to you. To me, that's just too much of a headache, and I want the damage from gem levels, so I'm not planning for it. But yeah, the pathing's a lot cleaner on the Cold Snap version because you don't have to grab all this curse and reservation stuff. Because for this build, you have to run like a Despair aura, so There's, you know, some pros and cons. The damage is also less, and the cast speed is a lot lower on Hexblast. But Hexblast is, you know, pretty satisfying, and you get the occultist pops, which sound amazing, of course. So, yeah, pros and cons. I'll put POBs to all three of these builds in the description. So this Hexblast build, if you care about that, my current version of Cold Snap, and then my endgame version of Cold Snap. So you can take a look at it, you can take inspiration from it, you can ignore it and decide that it's garbage, whatever really thrills you. But in any case, thanks for your time. Hopefully you learned something. Have a good day.